What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Mock Draft Monday. Yes, if you've been watching my channel, I know I said I wasn't going to do another mock draft until the week of the NFL draft, which is next week, but things changed just like the NFL draft, and I feel like things have changed enough since my last mock draft to go ahead and run another one. There's been a lot of different rumors about trade ups from different teams, and this mock draft is going to be kind of following the lines of what has really happened in the NFL rumors recently. So, with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. So, first things first, Carolina Panthers are sticking at one. We can go ahead and take that. And I think the pick is going to be Bryce Young. Bryce Young has started to jump out as the number one again. He has the tools. It's just his size at this point, and I don't think C.J. Stroud's going to pass him on that. C.J. Stroud's actually not even been the guaranteed number two in a lot of mocks lately, I've noticed. So that's an interesting little tidbit there. After that, the Texans. This is a tough one because they also have rumors of them not even taking a quarterback in general. And in my opinion, I don't think they should. I think their roster is so far away from being done that they should just wait this year out since these quarterbacks aren't A-plus prospects. They should get guys like Will Anderson or Jalen Carter, whoever they want, a corner, it doesn't matter, whichever one they want. And next year have their team, their roster settled out better for whatever rookie quarterback Drake May or Caleb Williams. So with that said, we're going to go and take Will Anderson at 2. At 3, 3 quarterbacks on the board. And I think there's some teams here that are willing to jump up for this. So I am going to find a trade partner, and it is going to be with the Raiders. The Raiders are going to come up to that will I'm going to force a trade. I don't care. I'm just going to we're only doing the first round, so it doesn't matter. So the Raiders move up to 3 to take their guy, C.J. Stroud. They obviously are in need of a quarterback. They have Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's going to be there for a year. You can let C.J. Stroud, work himself ready, play him halfway through the season, but just make sure he's ready before you put him on the field. Next up is the Colts, and as much as they've connected to Anthony Richardson, I just see this being a Will Levis spot. I really think Will Levis is going to be a Colt. I don't know why. I just think that is a correlation that I just see. And so we'll see if that works out in the end. I don't know. Seattle on the board, they have a decision here. Richardson has slid to 5, which is that a slide? I don't know. Maybe you think he should go farther than that. But he is definitely available, and he's definitely a huge question mark of, is he for them? I think it'd be a good pick for them to take him. But Seattle is going to go with Jalen Carter. He's too good of a player. They have too big of a need at D-line. Get Jalen Carter. That's just enough said right there. Lions on the board. There is another team that could potentially trade up here to get a quarterback, and they are going to. Detroit Lions are going to trade with the Tennessee Titans. I think this is a trade up that's going to end up happening. I think the Titans are going to come in and get their guy. Malik Willis has fallen out of favor with the Titans, so I think Anthony Richardson is next on their list, and they will go ahead, come up, and grab him. Back to the Cardinals. They did miss out by trading down. They miss out on Will Anderson. They miss out on Jalen Carter. However, they have a lot of needs, and they wouldn't solve their whole team with drafting just Will Anderson or just Jalen Carter. Sure, they're great players. Sure, they would be better players than probably the guys that are left here in a single player-to-player scoop. But now they have more picks because if they trade down, they're going to acquire more draft picks. And I think this gives them the ability to take whatever corner or player they want. Tyree Wilson's 100% a possibility. Gonzalez, Witherspoon are possibilities. Lucas Van Ness could be a possibility. There's a lot of different options you could go with here. But I think I am going to go with Devin Witherspoon. He is the best corner on the board, the most day one ready, and they need that. They lost Byron Murphy in the free agency period. Excuse me, sorry, I blanked there. But they lost him, and they just need somebody to take up that spot. Next, I'm going to go with Christian Gonzalez. The Falcons have put a lot of work into their defense, clearly. They have signed Bud Dupree, Calais Campbell, David Onyemata. They traded for Jeff Okudah. So maybe somebody out there is thinking, why would they draft a corner? You always need more corners. You never can have enough corners. They've done a whole lot of work fixing their front line, front seven, whatever you want to call it. I think it is time for them to go and grab their dynamic duo of corners with AJ Terrell and Christian Gonzalez, and Jeff Okudah being your 3 would be outstanding. So getting him, probably the best player on the board, highest upside for sure. I just think that's a pretty much a guarantee. Pick number 9. There have been some rumors that teams like Pittsburgh could trade up to number 9, but I don't think that will happen here. I think Pittsburgh is going to stick and pick, and I think they wouldn't take this guy, but they don't expect him to be here, and they think he's too good to pass up on, and Tyree Wilson is that guy. I think they would generally go for a tackle, but they had the least amount of sacks in the NFL. Their best edge rusher was Trevis Gibson or whatever his name is. Enough said there. So they need edge rusher bad, and Tyree Wilson may not have the most output year 1, but by year 2, year 3, he should be an animal that the NFL is terrified of. So going to the Eagles, they say they have so many needs here. That's interesting, but they like drafting in the trenches. And you see here, there's a few guys available: Skoronski, Cansey, Lucas Van Ness. All the tackles, obviously. I'm sitting here thinking they have a lot of age on their offensive line and defensive line, really. Who just fits the mold of exactly what they need right now, and that's just got to be Peter Skoronski. He can play guard if you need him to. He can play tackle for sure. He is, he could be Lane Johnson's replacement ultimately, but with Isaac Seumalo leaving this offseason, he could be the guard starter day 1 and move over to tackle next year or something. And Cam Jurgens, a guy they drafted in the second round a year or 2 ago, I can't remember how old that's been, but he's another guy who, maybe he's waiting in the wings to get his start at guard, and so maybe they play him at guard and Skoronski sits for part of a year to some, I don't know, who knows. Either way, the point is they like drafting the trenches. Skoronski just fits Philadelphia, in my opinion. So Detroit is here at 11. They fell all the way back. What do they need? They have major issues on their interior D line. They need some linebacker help, but I don't think there's a linebacker in this class that's good enough to take in this part of the first round for sure. So that leaves us with Kalijah Cansey. They have put in some work in the cornerback room. They do have Emmanuel Mosley and Cam Sutton from the Steelers and 49ers, but they did trade Jeff Okudah. They got to probably add more depth there for sure. But outside of that, their offense is fine. They need to fix their defense, and Kalijah Cansey is probably the best player on the board to give them something that they don't have. Their best interior defensive lineman is Alim McNeil, and if that's the case, you need to fix that as soon as possible. Kalijah Cansey at 11. The Texans with their second pick. So earlier we had them taking Will Anderson. They decided to just skip out on quarterback this draft. In my mock, this is a potential possibility for them. So they skip out on quarterback. They get the best edge rusher in the class. So they're sitting here thinking, what else can we get? What else can we add? And I'm thinking they get something to just prepare for their next quarterback, which might be next year, maybe a trade. Who knows? But Quentin Johnston is the best potential wide receiver 1 in this whole draft. Jackson Smith-Njigba is a slot receiver. He's really not going to be a wide receiver 1 ever. He might have some productivity, and that might be good productivity, but it's not going to be at a wide receiver 1 rate probably. Quentin Johnston has everything you need to be a number 1. Him, and then you add Robert Woods and John Mechie. That's a solid receiving core. I think you can deal with that for sure, and I think it'll be pretty decent for the future of the team. Next, we have the Jets, and this pick was supposedly for a while they're supposed to be traded to Green Bay, but that has fallen out of favor with them. And so, looking at what is left, I think they're going to find that they need a tackle. And their tackle, because they have Mekhi Becton on one side, but the other side is empty. So they are going to go with the high upside guy in Broderick Jones. Broderick Jones is, super. He only played like a little over a year really at Georgia himself. So he hasn't had a whole lot of experience, but I think when he gets going, he will be perfectly fine there. And it's just a good fit for them. The New England Patriots, they're an interesting one. They need edge. Matt Judon's aging, and Josh Uche had a okay year. He gotten better at the end of the year, but I don't know if he is your complete future at that position. Jackson Smith and Jigba would be interesting after they lost Jacoby Myers, but they have Juju now. So I don't. I feel like Juju and Jackson Smith and Jigba are kind of similar in a way. Big slot guys that whatever. Lucas Van Ness is an interesting one. Deontay Banks could be interesting. Brian Branch is there. They could go for a tackle as well. But I think they're going to go with Lucas Van Ness. I don't think the player is. He's too good of a player to let slip past them. And so getting a guy who's just a giant muscle and he can just power through anything off the edge is just something that they would take quickly. Green Bay, Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's fell here to them, and they are pretty excited about that. So they will just not even take a second and get that done. Next, we have the Washington Commanders, and they're sitting here, and they just need secondary help. Their secondary is pretty poor. They just got to get secondary help. I mean, that's been this way the whole draft season, and it's probably going to stay that way. I think it's these three guys right here in any order. And Buda Baker could be a potential trade spot for him. It could be to the Commanders. So if that's the case, you take Brian Branch out, but that still doesn't solve your corner problem. So I think you go with Joey Porter Jr., which taken right before Pittsburgh takes. But Pittsburgh is okay with that because they were thinking about taking him because they were like, that's a good storyline. That's a crazy story. We get his father, we get the son. Should we take him? But in the end, they probably have a bigger need than corner, and that is tackle. And Paris Johnson Jr. is on the board, so they make their decision easy. Take Paris Johnson Jr. Probably the most balanced tackle in this class. Then we have Detroit. Earlier, Detroit traded down from 6 to 11, got Kalijah Kancey, helped their defense out a lot, and now they're looking around. Could they use safety? Maybe. Not the most important. Could they use another edge? Possibly. Very possibly. But I think Dalton Kincaid will come in there and replace the void left by TJ Hawkinson. They probably do like their room. They're pretty much the two guys they have, Brock Wright and Zylstra, I think their names are. They're fine, but they're not number one tight ends, and this guy is going to be a number one tight end in the NFL. The Buccaneers. This one is a best player available pick. So who might that be? Maybe Bijan. Best player available, yes, but he is also a running back, which just positional value isn't there for. Maybe a receiver. But I'm sitting here looking at Brian Branch, and I feel like this just makes sense. So I am going to go with Brian Branch. Secondary is a little iffy. They have kind of fallen off. They lost one of their safeties this year. So I think it's a solid pickup for them. Seattle Seahawks. They have already had one pick in this draft as well. Jalen Carter already. What else do they need? They need edge rusher, and Miles Murphy's here. Nolan Smith's here. Brian Bresee is even a possible option to add a dynamic duo on the interior. However, it is not as much of a need. Excuse me, I sneezed. Brian Branch, it just got taken. So Deontay Banks being still here to pair with Tariq Woolen could be interesting. I'm thinking, though, it's the edge. They need the edge. They have Boye Mafe, who's an okay player, but I don't think he's any type of future guy. And I think Nolan Smith being on the board is going to give him the pick. I think that is something they need, and he is dynamic and athletic enough for them to just feel like they can do whatever they need to with him. The Chargers, linebacker, cornerback, receivers, what they're said to have needed. Could they use an edge rusher? Very much, possibly. Could they use a corner? Definitely. And Deontay Banks is still here, so it's Deontay Banks. That's enough said. Baltimore Ravens, their defense is kind of falling out. They got Odell, overpaid Odell. Do they really need wide receiver? Probably not. Do they need secondary help? Probably, definitely. Is there anybody here that they can take? Not a ton. They might trade down and grab a corner at 30 or so, but, I don't know. And thinking about that, actually, that's exactly what we're going to do. The Ravens are going to trade down, and they're going to trade down with the Kansas City Chiefs. They will move. Like I said, I'm just worried about the first rounders. They will move down because they want a corner, and the Chiefs will move up because they need a tackle. They lost Andrew Wiley and Orlando Brown. They did sign Juwan Johnson, but that's a left tackle. You don't have a right tackle still. Darnell Wright might be the best right tackle in this class. Go ahead and get that pick. They did this last year where they got that corner, McDuffie. They're not afraid to move up, and they do it again. Minnesota Vikings. They are Another team that obviously has a big need on the defensive end. Their defense is pretty rough. They did bring in Marcus Davenport. They brought in the corner from Arizona that I mentioned just a minute ago, Byron Murphy. So they've already taken care of a little bit of that. I think that means Brian Bresee is their guy. It just gives them the specific need they haven't necessarily filled yet, and I think I like that fit in Minnesota. The Jaguars, guard, center, edge, DB. They have Josh Allen. They have the guy they just drafted, Trayvon Walker. Do they really need edge? I don't know. Maybe Josh Allen's getting ready to be moved. Who knows? But I'll avoid that one for now, and we will go with something else for this draft. They could definitely be a team that if Deontay Banks, if Brian Branch are here, I think they'd grab him up quick. I don't think it'd be a guess because I think their secondary needs it, but they're not here. So looking around the room, what do they need? They need the offensive lineman. There's not really a whole lot of linemen here that are that necessary. Osiris Torrance is the only one that is like that valuable at the position. Could we go with him? Definitely. Definitely. And now I'm making myself think about it, and now I want to do it. So we're going to do it. Osiris Torrance goes to the Jaguars. The New York Giants, they signed every receiver that doesn't have a name on the planet just so they can have people in their room. Paris Johnson, and they brought back a bunch of guys, and I don't even remember who all they brought in. It was just a mess. Either way, that is not as much of a dire need for them anymore. So, who do they need? They have Kayvon Thibodeau. They have a hole at linebacker, definitely. But like I've said before, I don't think there's a linebacker in this class that's necessarily first round talent. And if there is, it's probably not what they need. So I think I am going to go with the potentially best player available here and go Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer is probably the best true tight end in this class, and they don't really have a tight end. They got a rookie from last year Daniel Bellinger. There we go. I almost forgot his name, but he's fine. But Michael Mayer is going to be an instant starter over him. It's not a question. Dallas Cowboys, I think they are probably very enticed by Bijan, knowing how Jerry Jones likes to draft. The receivers here are interesting too, but they have a specific need that I think they are not listed there because of the age of some of their players, and I think they're going to go with Myles Murphy. Yes, they have Micah Parsons. Yes, they have DeMarcus Lawrence. I think you can move Micah Parsons around more, let him freelance a little bit, have DeMarcus Lawrence, who is aging, so you're going to have to replace him eventually anyways, and Myles Murphy, being the player that he is, falling this far, he'd be a good steal for them right there. The Bills are probably not very happy that a team or all the teams have taken all the corners that are probably worth it so far. Let's see who's available. That if I'm missing anybody, there's corner and safety real quick. I really don't think these guys are much of the complete first rounders. So what else do they need? What I do know is the Spencer Brown project hasn't worked, so that could be a definite add in Anton Harrison or DeJuan Jones. Von Miller's old. Will McDonald's possibility. Bijan Robinson is a question because they could add just an electrifying running back into their backfield. Does Bijan solve their problems immediately about running the football? Probably not, but he definitely could help. So I think we're going to go with Bijan. That'd be an interesting add for sure for Buffalo. So I like that bit. Then the Bengals. The Bengals have, I think their cornerback room is getting pretty rough. Eli Apple can't be that good, but once again, the corners just aren't here right now. So, with that said, defensive interior, don't really have that either. And then tight end, both of the guys who are really first round talents have gone. So, who's left? They don't need receiver. Could they use a running back? I definitely think they could. I think Joe Mixon could probably be out soon. Samaje Perine, the guy they used in the playoffs over Joe Mixon, is not on the Bengals anymore. So I think they're going to go hit. I don't know why I clicked that. They're going to go get Jahmyr Gibbs. 2 running backs off the board in a row. The New Orleans Saints, I think this is a pretty quick pick for them. They haven't had a whole lot of receiver help recently. And the guys, Chris Olave was a good ad for sure, don't get me wrong. But then Michael Thomas has been in and out. Jarvis Landry wasn't even a factor, and I think he's gone anyways. So So I think they're going to go ahead and hit up Zay Flowers. He's still on the board. Probably fell a little bit. So great ad for them there. Philly's back on the board. Earlier they grabbed Peter Skoronski. And they just have options. I think they could go with another offensive lineman potentially. Or they could fit what may be a little bit of an early pick, but probably a pretty big need for them and grab a middle linebacker. Dan Henley is a coverage guy. They lost two of them, I think. They lost T.J. Edwards and I believe Kaiser White both, if I'm not mistaken. So they definitely have a need. Jack Campbell is probably the most true middle linebacker there is. They have Nakobe Dean. Drew Sanders is there. But I think they're going to go with Dan Henley in this. He's kind of been pushed to the front of the middle linebacker room recently. And so, he's the best coverage guy for sure. And I think that would just be something that they definitely need to add depth to. And why not do it in the draft and get a good young player? The Baltimore Ravens are here. And they're happy that no one else jumped on them and took any corners. Emmanuel Forbes is 100% an option. Cam Smith is an option. And then even Tyreek Stevenson can be an option here. I think this is not too late for them. Or too early, I mean. But I think with Forbes' size, he's going to fall a little bit. And Cam Smith will go at 31. That is the first round. And I'll go ahead and say 32. With how the board shook out, Pittsburgh is at 32. And being a Steelers fan, I'm going to go ahead and draft for 32. You won't see it here, obviously. But the Steelers will take Jordan Addison. I think they are really hoping he falls at 32. They know that could he be taken at 17? Absolutely. He is probably good enough to be taken there. But the need is not that dire. However, if he makes himself to 32, they're all things go out the window. You have all your options open. So, let me know what you guys think about this draft. Here is our top 10. I think it was a pretty solid draft. I think I like the picks, how they came out. But either way, thank y'all for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share with your friends. I'd really appreciate it if you do all three of those things, all four, whatever, how many things I said. I don't even know. But thank y'all for watching, and peace.